Good evening, or perhaps good morning, or good afternoon, and welcome to Classics in the Time of Corona. I have a really important message I want to share with all of you, my students, and mostly to reassure you that I will do everything in my power to make sure that you have a rich experience with the classical world during the balance of the semester. I regret deeply not being able to see you all in person, but I will stay in close communication. Many of you have reached me already by email, and we'll talk a little bit about how we can continue a dialogue through the discussion board. But first, I want to tell you a little historical story, one from the classical world, 4th century of our era, as a kind of an inspiration. Set in the year 384 of the Common Era, the Roman author Macrobius created a work called the Saturnalia, a celebration of one of the most joyous of the Roman festivals, the Saturnalia taking place in December each year with feasting. And what Macrobius did in this wonderful work was to recreate dinner parties of some of the most eminent scholars and leaders in the Roman world. They knew that their civilization was coming to an end. In the year 313, the Roman Emperor Constantine had issued the Edicts of Milan, which made religious liberty a watchword throughout the Roman Empire. But by 380, the three emperors had issued the Edicts of Thessalonica, which meant that Christianity was the official religion of the Roman Empire, and the pagan world was under significant threat. In 384, the year in which Macrobius sets the Saturnalia, a remarkable historical event took place. In fact, one of the people who is in Macrobius's dinner party was a historical figure named Quintus Aurelius Symmachus, and he got involved in a debate with Ambrose, the Bishop of Milan, over whether the pagan altar of victory could be restored to the Roman Senate house. The Bishop of Milan won the argument, and the pagan altar of victory was never restored. It was a symbol of the fact that there was a changing of the guard. The Romans had persecuted Christians, and at this point, Christianity was the official religion of the empire. And so many of the beautiful things of Roman civilization were imperiled. Now, getting to my point, at this dinner party, which is of course fictionalized, we have three very important historical figures. We have Quintus Aurelius Symmachus, the man who argued so eloquently to keep that element of Roman civilization, the great altar, intact. And we had Varius Flavianus Nicomachus, another scholar and leader, and we even had Servius, the commentator on Virgil's Aeneid. Now, I should mention that one of the things that really runs throughout this whole work is a celebration of what clearly they realized was Rome's great contribution to civilization, namely Virgil's Aeneid, which we are going to study a little later on in the semester. So there's the setting, and you may be wondering, why am I rambling on about this story from the 4th century? Well, I have a particular point to make. Two of the people at that dinner party, Symmachus and Nicomachus, were also busily copying manuscripts. Now remember, from the beginning of the semester, we looked at some PowerPoint slides of ancient manuscripts, and I pointed out the obvious that there was no printing press. One could not simply send in an order to Penguin through Amazon and get a copy in translation, any language you like, of the great works of antiquity. Everything had to be meticulously copied. And one of the things that Symmachus and Nicomachus did was to compare existing manuscripts of the great authors to try to get copies that would be as accurate as possible. And one of the wondrous things that we have is the data on the transmission, because each time one of these great men finished copying a manuscript or finished the delegation of that copying, he would write at the bottom what's called a subscription, talking about his role in copying this text. And these subscriptions have been dutifully recorded, and they've come down to us. So again, what's my point in this historical story? At a point when classical civilization was in some danger of eclipse, when there weren't that many copies around, when, in fact, many ancient authors simply vanished forever, they're great works that we know of that we will undoubtedly never have, these men took it upon themselves to do something to preserve this great gift to civilization so that it could go all the way through the Middle Ages and into the rediscovery of the Renaissance and to our very day. So we're in a difficult situation. That's the point that I was leading up to. We're not going to be able to meet face to face. Lord knows we're trying to be good citizens and avoid any unnecessary social contact, even pedagogical contact. And so some of the things that I'd hoped to do in class, in person, simply can't happen. But we are all going to make diligent efforts to keep alive that flame of the classical tradition. And I hope that this semester will end on a note of real satisfaction and fulfillment for all of you in having engaged with some of the greatest works that civilization has produced. Now, a few words on the how. I have set up a discussion board, and in the syllabi, the revised Corona edition, you will see due dates when I want you to post a response to the prompts that I've given for each one of these discussion board questions. This will enable us to have a cyber discussion of some of the important elements of the course. I've had to redesign the assessment system as well, since we will not have our in-class quizzes, nor will we have a final exam. Instead, what I'm asking you to do, and there are due dates in the syllabus, is to write me 3 papers, each about 500 words. They need to be written well. I will take this opportunity to help you with your writing, but a lot of that burden falls on you. I want papers that have accurate spelling, accurate punctuation, and accurate grammar. So use all the resources you can. I'm hoping the Writing Center is still going to be able to help you in producing 3 papers whose writing accuracy is something that you will be proud to show others. And of course, whose content in answering the prompts will deepen your engagement with these great works of literature. The discussion board is going to count for 75 of the 200 points that will constitute your grade. So please take it seriously, if not for the reason that I'm giving you, that it will deepen your engagement with this material, but it also will be a major part of your grade. Each of the papers will count for 25 points, replacing the 3 25-point quizzes that otherwise would have been part of the semester. And I am going to, as I promised, eliminate the lowest grade either for your quizzes or your papers. And so that will bring us to 200 points plus some extra credit opportunities that are still there. Please stay in touch with me to answer any questions, and please engage vigorously and passionately in the discussion board postings, and we will further that great tradition of those who came before us in preserving this wonderful heritage that we have. Thank you so much for sticking with it. And I should say thank you for your patience. As you will recall from class, I struggled even to get the PowerPoint up on the screen. I am, in fact, struggling now to adapt to the technologies that enable us to stay in touch. But I value every one of you, each and every one of you, and I want to make sure that each one of you has a really rich and rewarding experience in this class. So good night, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it might be. I'm so glad that we are still able to continue this course.